Welcome to the Revenge Story Times channel. Marriage, the sacred bond built on trust and love. What would you do if it shattered before your very eyes? When Rick realized that what seemed like an ordinary dinner plan with his wife, Brenda, was far more than it appeared, events spiraled into an unforeseen direction. The tension, hidden in silence, the doubt sprouting in casual conversations, and a man confronting betrayal with cold resolve. But is everything as it seems, or does Rick have a plan of his own? Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel before uncovering the hidden secrets. If you're ready, let's dive in. Rick's voice was calm and collected, as if discussing the most mundane topic in the world. "Yes, darling," he said, "this Friday, you're meeting another man." Yet beneath those words, there was no peace, only a deep ache. Brenda's expression of shock was inevitable. "And you're not going to say anything?" she asked. Rick replied with the same composure. "No. But what choice do I have? As you said, I can't control you." Brenda's response was almost a challenge. "Don't let your ego win, Rick. I love you, and I'll fix this." But Rick didn't ignore the reality behind her words. "If you're going to fix it," he said, "then you know it's wrong." His words echoed in the room like a harsh but justified slap. Brenda tried to look away, but her silence spoke volumes. Rick seized the moment. "If you don't think it's wrong," he said, "why are you telling me you'll make it up to me? If you were just going out to dinner with friends, you wouldn't feel the need to apologize. You wouldn't be this defensive about a simple hair appointment. But you know, don't you? You know what you're doing is wrong, and that knowledge is eating you alive with guilt." Brenda's denials were weak and riddled with contradictions. "But you gave me permission," she exclaimed, her voice trembling. Rick's response was sharp and clear. "I never gave you permission. I just accepted that I couldn't stop you. That doesn't mean I approve." Without changing his tone, Rick stripped away Brenda's defenses. "Say his name," he demanded. "Who is this man?" Brenda's silence was longer this time. "It doesn't matter," she finally whispered, her voice barely audible. But Rick had regained control of the situation. "It doesn't matter," he asked calmly. "But what you've done has consequences." Brenda's attempts to appear unbothered crumbled in the face of Rick's determination. "You love me," she claimed. "You've always given me whatever I wanted." But Rick was no longer the same. "I can't stop you," he said. "But I warned you, and now you're on your own." As Rick left the room, his decision was clear. There was no love left in his words, only cold resolve. The echo of silence lingered behind him, more haunting than ever. Throughout the week, the house felt colder and more unfamiliar. Finally, on Thursday night, Rick broke his silence and took a decisive step. While packing his things, Brenda appeared at the door. "What are you doing, Rick?" she asked, her tone still defiant. Rick's answer was harsh and unyielding. "I made a wrong assumption. I thought you were smarter than this." Even Brenda's mocking tone couldn't change Rick's mind. "You're just a child," she muttered. But Rick refused to play along this time. "These are the consequences," he said calmly. That night, the atmosphere in the house shifted completely. Rick moved into the guest room, drawing an invisible line in their relationship once more. The cold atmosphere of Thursday night spread, and Rick's seriousness settled throughout the house. Brenda's silence was deeper now, her sarcastic demeanor merely a mask. While Rick set up his new arrangement in the guest room, he meticulously planned his next move. He had found the best way to deal with his wife's betrayal. He would beat her at her own game. On Friday morning, Rick woke up earlier than usual. He completed his routine without disruption but moved with a different energy. He planned to leave work early and maintained his usual calm demeanor to avoid tipping Brenda off. Yet he knew this wasn't just an ordinary day for her. Everything hinged on tonight, and Rick was determined to write the final act of this play. After work, Rick set a plan into motion to completely transform his appearance. His first stop was the city's most prestigious unisex salon. As the stylist worked on him, Rick saw a stronger, more confident man reflected in the mirror. After a modern haircut and a precise shave, he emerged with a fresh look, symbolizing a new Rick. Next, he visited an exclusive boutique for men. There, he selected an outfit that was both stylish and comfortable, a crisp shirt, a well-tailored blazer, and perfectly fitting trousers. To complete the transformation, he picked up his freshly detailed car. These preparations weren't just about appearance, they were a message. Rick was no longer waiting, silent or submissive. When he returned home, he heard Brenda getting ready. The sounds of her shower and hurried footsteps betrayed her excitement and nervousness. But Rick wasn't waiting anymore. He was on his own path now. After a long shower, he got ready and waited downstairs for Brenda's grand entrance. Soon, Brenda began descending the stairs. Her dress was bolder and more attention-grabbing than anything Rick had seen her wear before. The hemline ended just above the knee, and the plunging neckline made it clear she was trying to make a statement. As she reached the last step, her eyes held an expectation. She wanted Rick to admire her, to feel jealousy, and cling to her. But Rick remained silent, his face void of any reaction. Unsettled by his silence, Brenda asked with a hint of sarcasm, "Well, what do you think?" Rick looked her over and, with chilling composure, replied, "I'm going out." "What did you think? That I'd just sit here and wait like a loyal servant?" Rick's words sent a shock wave through Brenda, but he didn't wait for her response. "Charmaine is waiting for me," he said, as if the name were a bomb meant to detonate in her mind. Then, without another word, he got into his gleaming car and drove off. Driving through the city, Rick felt an unexpected sense of freedom, as though he had shed a burden he'd carried for years. The city lights reflected on his windows as he imagined Brenda's reaction. He could almost see her wide-eyed shock and the questions echoing in her mind. Rick smiled. Tonight wasn't about revenge, it was about reclaiming himself. Rick headed to a stylish wine bar he had carefully selected in advance. With live piano music, a small dance floor, and a refined ambience, it was the perfect setting to showcase his transformation. Upon arrival, he found a table reserved just for him. As he sipped his wine, he felt a sense of control and clarity he hadn't experienced in years. When Charmaine, a co-worker, joined him, their interaction was warm and genuine. While their relationship was strictly platonic, Charmaine's laughter and Rick's rediscovered joy added a spark to the evening. On the dance floor, their movements were fluid and natural, a rare and special connection in the moment. Meanwhile, Rick occasionally thought of Brenda, likely out with another man. But he felt no jealousy or anger. Instead, he saw this as a pivotal moment for her to fully grasp the consequences of her actions. Rick had answered her betrayal with his own words, consequences. As the night progressed, Brenda was likely stewing at home or, if out, consumed with thoughts of Rick. The name Charmaine had become her obsession. Jealousy gnawed at her like an open wound. While she had lost control of Rick, he relished every moment of his newfound freedom. By the end of the evening, Rick drove Charmaine home, appreciating the boundaries they both maintained while cherishing the beauty of the moment. When he returned home, Brenda was waiting in the living room, her eyes filled with anger, jealousy, and curiosity. "Who's Charmaine?" she demanded, her voice carrying a tone he hadn't heard before. Rick removed his jacket, hung it on a chair, and answered with a faint smile, "Consequences, Brenda. They're just consequences." As Rick retreated to the guest room, Brenda's silence became their most profound conversation. That night marked a turning point, not just for Brenda, but for Rick as well. In this story, the traces of betrayal had given way to an awakening. Thank you for listening. Until the end, see you in the next episode of Revenge Story Times. Take care of yourself and your loved ones. Goodbye.